much, people? Welcome back to part 2 of the top 10 best movies of 2014, being released on the last day of February 2015. Brandon's not here. He was always holding us up. So if you haven't seen part 1, you should see it, because this... No, it doesn't really matter, because this is 5 through 1. It's the movies that really matter to us, so... watch it or don't. I don't care. You're here, so you're watching it. Alright, so... were you still going in the same order? John,
yes.
Paul, me? Alright, number 5. John.
How to Train Your Dragon 2. You knew it was coming. This movie...
I didn't know it was coming.
I didn't know it was coming.
Okay, it should have won the Oscar. Well, actually, Lego Movie should have won the Oscar. But since Lego Movie wasn't nominated, this should have won the Oscar. I love the new dragons in it. I love the characters in it, because there are a couple new ones, and the old ones are even better. Hiccup and Toothless are even better than they were in the first one, which is saying a lot. However, I did feel the supporting characters, like Hiccup's friends, weren't as good in this one, because they kind of tried to make them like raging hormones and stuff. You know, they were trying to compete. Yeah, I know. They were trying to compete for the one girl and stuff. Yeah.
They also want to emphasize that they're getting older.
Yeah, I know.
But not the obvious shoving it down your throat. I have facial hair now. The obvious got that jawline now.
So, yeah. And the story was good, the animation was good, the dragons were good, the characters were good, and the plot was good, and it had a good mix of emotional scenes and action scenes. Paul.
Alright, my number 5 choice is Dawn of Justice of Ultron of the Planet of the Apes. And this was really one of the best things about this movie is that there's no black and white. It's very you could say it's political. There's a lot of gray area. There's not really a good guy bad guy kind of thing, because both sides of the struggle are justified, and I like seeing that. Obviously the visuals are incredible. The motion capture for Andy Serkis and all the other people are great, and Caesar is one of the most powerful characters that in movies these days. And yeah, it was just a great time. There's some awesome shots, especially the tank shot, and the scenes were all the action scenes were good, and yeah.
I apologize for background noise. My neighbors are annoying. Stupid kids. Okay, so my number 5 is also Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Now the best thing I can say about characters in a movie is when they feel like they were actually walking around doing stuff before the movie began. And Dawn of the Planet of the Apes had the best example of that, of any blockbuster movie I've ever seen. Because everything that happened just felt so real for those characters. Everything was just... I couldn't see where it was going, because there's a formula to how movies like this go. You know what's going to happen. You know this is going to trigger this. This is going to happen, and then a war is going to happen, and then and on top of that, the way it's shot. Not only are the visuals fantastic, and the tank scene, obviously that uncut shot was fantastic, but I noticed, I watched it again, the way it's filmed. There are no how do I put this? Say someone died and they weren't actually dead and they came back. In this movie, if that happened, the person that died and came back, when they come back, the music would escalate, and then they would like show up in this like on top of a building, and then the sunshine would be right behind them. It would be like really epic. But this movie doesn't do that. Every shot feels grounded. It feels like how someone would actually see it. It's not over the top, despite the fact that the final act takes place on top of a big structure. That was the only part that took me out of it, really. The rest of it felt very real, and just very, it was very character-driven. And Andy Serkis is, if I haven't seen Nightcrawler, Andy Serkis is by far away my favorite performance of 2014, and the McConaughey Interstellar beating him thing, I think, is the stupidest decision we have ever made on this channel. Number 4.
Stupidest?
Yes, number 4.
Alright, fine. Okay, 4 for me is the Lego Movie, the movie that should have been nominated and should have won the Oscar award. So, I love Legos, even though I don't have a lot of Legos, I still like them. I have a
As he's saying that, he's looking at all my Legos over there. The thing is sitting on top of Legos.
Okay. But I have some Lego video games, and they're actually good. You should give them a try. They're underrated. They're underrated.
Talk about the movie.
Okay. So the visuals in this were really good. I like how even the water was Legos. I love all the Lego characters and how even the characters that were Legos had their own personalities from what they were, except for Batman. He's different. He's a bit different in this, but he's still Batman, dark and black and gray and wanting to be a loner.
No parents.
Wanting to be loner and stuff. And like the plot was good. Like it even had some scenes where like it kind of took you out of the movie for a bit, but then it brought you straight back in, and it had some deeper meanings of creativity and putting your own spin on things and not doing things how the label says. And it actually, I think kids are gonna like Legos even more now because everyone likes video games.
Everything's
now.
a product.
Yeah, everything's a product. And yeah, it was just a really good movie, and I just like it so much. And Ben, you should have put it on your list.
I should have, but I couldn't fit it on. It's my number 11. It's my number 11.
One thing I want to say about Lego movies, I love the way they kind of like broke the fourth wall, how they tied in the ending and stuff. I just love that element. Anyway, my number 4 is X-Men: Days of Future Past. I'm a little biased towards superhero movies, and this was one of the best.
You said you didn't give Dawn of the Planet of the Apes a perfect score because it didn't have superheroes in it.
No,
Yeah, you did.
I gave it a 10 out of 10 personal, I think. Yeah.
Why would there be superheroes?
No,
it was a joke.
I'm saying I think I said Days of Future Past is above it because it has a superhero aspect that just personally makes me like it more.
I get that.
Anyway, I love the whole time travel aspect of it. The ensemble cast is brilliant again. Obviously, First Class is combining with the good elements of the other ones. They give X-Men a clean slate, and I think Apocalypse could be even better than Days of Future Past. The Quicksilver scene is another one of those Godzilla type things where it's like one of the most individual, memorable moments in film and in the movie. And yeah, I really, really liked the story overall in this one. And
did you say you don't think Apocalypse will be better?
no, I said I do think Apocalypse.
I don't
Apocalypse
think
can
it will.
be better.
I don't think it will. But, okay, on top of that, being biased towards superhero films, I honestly think Caesar is a very demanding character. I wouldn't have a problem if it were above that. But, because, he's really, powerful. He just puts his hand up, and everyone stops. And there's a character very similar to that, leading into my number 4, which is Whiplash. I should have said drumroll, please. It's probably a lot higher up on his list. But, okay. This film is not higher on my list because it isn't a fast-paced movie. It is kind of slow-paced. It's the main character, he's just going through life at the time that he is encountering J.K. Simmons, this very demanding drill sergeant of a character, trying to push him to be the best musician he can be. And on top of the fact that it is slow, the reason it's so high is because of J.K. Simmons' performance. And it's not just that, it's Miles Teller's look almost. His face, he's almost got a babyish face to him. So every time J.K. Simmons is just yelling at him, just wailing on him, intellectually and even physically, it's just so unsettling, but it's so exciting too. You just want him to exceed so much, and that's why the last act of this movie, or not even act, last maybe 5 minutes. Last maybe 5 minutes of the movie. Oh my god. I was sweating. OMG. Next.
Number 3, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which was just... I saw this movie before I saw Rise of the Planet of the Apes, so I didn't even know that the reboot sort of it was even that good. But I saw the trailer in the summer, and I was like, Ben, we have to see that movie.
I told you about it before you saw the trailer.
Yeah, but I wasn't that stoked for it until I saw the trailer. Because I didn't know how...
No, I told you there were monkeys in
how...
it, and then you wanted to see it.
Okay, I didn't know how good this reboot was, but it is very good. I bought them both on Blu-ray, digital.
Oh, it's weird that Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the sequel to Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which is a reboot of the original Planet of the Apes, which is not to be confused with Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. It's weird how good those could be. It's so weird.
Yeah, so I love the characters in the movie. Caesar was
powerful.
Yeah, he was powerful. The motion capture was just incredible, and Andy Serkis did a really good job. Koba was also he was a good villain. Sort of spoiler.
Villain.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not all clear. You can go for one side over the other and then switch back, and I also really love the Ape Society and how over just a couple years they went from being cooped up to starting their own society, but people think they're just all, or the people in the movie just think they're all like lawless and they need to be taken care of or else they'll take us down. And yeah, that's kind of ironic because they sort of do take them down because there's a war and stuff. Yeah.
Alright, my number 3 choice is Guardians of the Galaxy. Not much needs to be said about this movie that hasn't already been said. It's obviously an amazingly fun time. The characters are great. The tone is spot on. They stayed true to the B-team feel of the comics, and nobody really... only experience I had with these characters was through the Avengers cartoon on Disney XD, so I didn't really know them. Nobody really knew them, but now everybody loves them because this movie was so great. And even with a lackluster villain, this movie manages to be my favorite Marvel superhero movie ever. And I think I'm really looking forward to more Guardians of the Galaxy movies and how they're tying it in. And also the Awesome Mixtape Volume 1. I prefer scores over soundtracks, but I love the way the Awesome Mixtape almost became a part of the plot almost. It just felt like all the Star-Lord related to the Awesome Mixtape, and that was awesome. And yeah, just a great time with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay, my number 3, when I reviewed this, I said it was the most exciting Oscar bait movie I've ever seen. Now that the Oscars are out, I can say that it really got snubbed a lot. And that helps me just fine because I still think it's like one of those really artsy movies. And usually with artsy movies, despite the fact that they're really good, you really have to sit down and watch them. You really have to invest your time in them. But with Nightcrawler, it was so fun to watch. Like, it is up there. It's not up there with Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously. The thing that puts it up is like the really good story. Jake Gyllenhaal's incredible performance, best performance I saw in 2014. I mean, he was a different person despite the fact he had no makeup on. He was so good. But that adding to what was happening, it's not some really deep, depressing, somber story. It's really entertaining. It's got a little bit of like a Scorsese, like a Wolf of Wall Street almost. Not in that way. Just, it's a dark story about a really gratuitous, very different take on this thing, and it makes it kind of funny almost. It turns it into comedy, and it's not a comedy.
Dark humor.
Dark humor. It has like a lot of dark humor in it. It's like, it's funny, and it's entertaining in a story that really shouldn't be that way, but it works. I can't explain it, but it was really fun to watch. It's easy to sit down and watch it. That's the best thing I can say about it. All Oscar movies, they're just so, you gotta sit down, really pay attention, but not Nightcrawler. It was exciting to watch, it was fun to watch. On top of the fantastic performance, the great story, and a really unsettling view on the just news in general. I never like the news because I'm always wondering how they filmed that, but this movie really went into that and supports my opinion on why I don't watch the news, other than the fact that I don't care.
Okay. Number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy, which I only knew from like 2 episodes of the Disney XD cartoon show, which was decent but not that good. And so I just knew who the characters were. I just didn't know much about them. And this movie goes really far to make you love the characters, because even if you have no idea who they are at all, and once you're done with this movie, you'll feel like you know them like heart and soul, and you've known them for a while, and that they're even as big as characters like the Avengers. And I like how sort of the story wasn't like the Avengers, where it's like, gotta save the Earth. It was a personal story for many of the characters, and it was also, but they also, had, we can't just let all these people die, so that's kind of where the plot comes from. But the characters weren't in it are definitely the best part of the movie, as I said. Like Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon and all the others. They were all really strong. They were all really unique, and this movie had a lot of humor in it. It was really funny, and it was kind of like it wasn't the cheap, or not necessarily cheap, but kind of cheap humor in the Avengers, where it's like we have a Hulk, and it was like they integrated it in such a smart way, and you feel like that's how the character would say it if he was real. And yeah. Okay, no problem.
Alright, my number 2 choice is Whiplash.
He had to do that.
Yeah, I had to put some music in.
We
Anyway,
filmed this 10 minutes earlier, but he was looking for that.
Anyway, yeah, I love Whiplash. I am a percussionist. I play drums, so I was immediately, the topic was already interesting, and I feel like this movie, obviously nothing I've done is like extreme, like bleeding hands and stuff, but it does capture like the hard work that you have to put in to be even good at something, not just great. And good job is the most harmful thing you can ever say. I like that, even though it's a little cliche. But obviously, best thing about this movie was J.K. Simmons' performance. He was so
give a retard
vulgar.
calculator. We'll try to turn on the TV.
Yeah, he was like so vulgar, but it was like almost. Sometimes it was just funny because it was so like oppressive how he does, but it obviously produces results. And then Miles Teller too was great, and him faking the drums pretty well throughout the whole movie. The music was awesome, but the movie wasn't really about jazz. It was about any person that is willing to go to extreme lengths to become great at something, which was awesome. And the last scene was is probably my favorite scene of any movie. It was amazing playing, but also just how it brought such a good conclusion to the story and the intensity throughout the movie. It had a little bit of a Social Network, if you've seen that. It kind of had a feel like that sometimes, but it was way better because it was more interesting, more intense, and frankly, drums are cooler than Mark Zuckerberg.
I can't wait for on YouTube an updated version of Best Movie Insults. J.K. Simmons would be on there.
Oh yeah, Watch Mojo.
Like there are so many that I just want to say right now.
He said father F-word. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, insults are so good. I want to know how many of it was like ad-libbed. Like how many he actually did himself, because J.K. Simmons is like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I want to see that. So my number 2, the first time I saw this movie, I didn't like it very much. Like, I had so many bad things to say about it. The second time I watched it, I was like, yeah, it's okay. Third time I watched it, I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. I started to notice more good things about it. Fourth time was kind of the same. But then something about the fifth time I saw it, I don't know what it was, but the story just was laid out in front of me, and I just realized how good it was. And it's X-Men Days of Future Past, by the way. So I watched it again, and I started to realize, okay, first off, I started to become more into, like, movies, and I started to realize how big certain actors were. So I started to understand what the studio was going through, what Bryan Singer was going through about, okay, this actor's big, they have to do this, they have to be a big character, they have to be a part of this story. But at the same time, we actually have the actual characters, and they have to do these things because they did this before, and then they have to work together to do this, so we have to get them and them together. And then and all this stuff just had to happen and had to work out. And it did. All these characters together and all the actors that had to be big for certain roles, even though they shouldn't be, all of that worked so well. And the story is just so smooth. Everything, and it didn't even feel like this stuff happened because it had to happen. Everything felt like it happened because the story called for it. It felt like the script came first, even though all these characters had to come together and all those actors had to have this big role and all that stuff. But it just worked so well, and these characters just came together in such a good way. And the time travel aspect, I don't think people realize how cool it is. I mean, everybody's like, yeah, it's a time travel movie. But when you look at other time travel movies, this movie doesn't focus on that. It's a superhero movie with time travel, so that's really cool. And I don't think people are talking about the ending as much as they should, like how it just does what it does. It's not a spoiler. You've seen it. They wipe everything away, all the bad stuff. That is not being talked about enough, because I obviously saw it before I saw it the fifth time, obviously. But the fifth time I saw it, something about it, I just realized that is one of the most inspired things I've ever seen in a movie. Just to use a time travel thing, again, something that had to happen, and then use it to their advantage. And it worked out so well, it's so inspired, and it's such a good movie. Like, it definitely deserves number 2.
I want to say something. Plot-wise, this is the inception of superhero movies because I think it's the most interesting.
That's interesting.
Just the story, the time travel. So it's kind of like Inception. It's just a really interesting movie.
Remember when I played for you the song "Hope" from Xavier's thing?
Yeah,
that sounds like time.
Inception.
It sounds a little bit like time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting. But yeah, fantastic.
Fantastic Four.
I gave it a 9 for both in my review. I'd change personally 10 out of 10 easily. Best
Fantastic
X-Men movie, second best superhero movie I've ever seen, which is really biased.
Fantastic Four.
What?
You said fantastic. And I said 4. Because it's 5.
When did I say fantastic?
You said it was a fantastic movie.
Okay. Number 1.
Are we gonna say it all at the same time?
No, doesn't deserve it. We're not fanboys. We should. Okay, yeah, let's all talk about it together.
All right, my number 1 is Interstellar.
Yeah, Interstellar.
Everybody's number
Interstellar.
1 here is Interstellar.
I've seen it 5 times, 4 times, 5 times. How many times have I seen it? I don't know. I didn't like it. I don't like it as much as the first time I saw it, but it's number 1. It's a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
What do we want to say?
This movie for me, it was it's the one that I've still thought about. It's the most interesting topic-wise. The plot is the most interesting. Everything, the characters, I just love the movie. Going that far into space, farther than any other space movie's ever gone, delving into crazy physics and stuff, and still managing to throw in some great emotional scenes, which is rare, which is like not Christopher Nolan's thing, but I really liked it in this. Murph and Cooper, that was great. The score, my favorite in a long time. Hans Zimmer score. The visuals definitely deserve the Oscar. Actual scientific discoveries have been made because of the black hole that was created for this movie. There's so much math, there's so much thought that was put into this movie, more than just what most people realize. Some people say they dismiss it because they can't understand it, they dismiss it because they think it's too outlandish, but everything in this was so thought out by
The least possible scene in my recall was the docking scene.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Actually,
I kind of. Because
there's
it's
actually
based on there's the docking scene is very unlikely. The other thing is based off of theory.
The
but it's
exact
still,
revolutions per minute. Christopher Nolan did his research. It was there's a NASA incident that occurred in like the 60s.
I don't know anything.
They also had to match up with revolutions, and it was like 61 revolutions per minute, and it's the exact same. And that incident, they matched it up with the movie. So that's just a cool.
So it's
fact
possible
that I not the way it obviously wasn't the same, but that was just a cool little fact that I read one time and just made me smile.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just love this movie. I still think about it, and I just love space too.
Yeah. In 2013, there weren't that many great movies. The only movies that it doesn't matter how good a movie is, but it's just there's something really special about a movie that sticks with me. Like 2013. Pacific Rim wasn't the best movie of 2013, but it stuck with me the most. I'm going to remember it most, even with Gravity.
Mm-hmm.
Pacific Rim is the one I want to see the sequel for. But Interstellar, despite being my favorite movie, is also the one that sticks with me the most.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like how people describe Star Wars the first time they saw it. Star Wars is way better, but the first time they saw it, it just inspired them so much in terms of filmmaking and storytelling in general. Interstellar did that for me. Now, the story isn't as good as I thought it was, because the tonal shifts that people were talking about, I don't see that. The problem with me is the dialogue. Some of it comes across... It has the same problem as Transformers 4, I want to say, because every line seems like a tagline for a poster. Like, we used to look up in the sky, and what does it mean to be a human being? All that stuff just annoys the crap out of me. But that said, I don't care too much about the science. I can tell you, as a person who wants to be a filmmaker, this movie was, well, it was fantastic. It was so well filmed. Like, the cinematography, I think, should have deserved at least a nomination. Like, the docking scene in general. I've never seen this before, but I saw a picture of behind the scenes, how they filmed it. That was a miniature. Like how they actually had like a camera up here, and then they built a big miniature set, and how it was actually spinning. And then in the scene where they went to the water planet, how they actually took a big set of the Ranger.
Yes.
Ranger.
How they actually took that to Iceland, how the black surface made it look like it was deeper, and then they actually took that big set there and made it on a crane and made it look like it was flying. I love that stuff. I love the way Christopher Nolan films, and I think that it doesn't matter if Christopher Nolan filmed or not. I would still like this movie that much, just as the way it was filmed. And what it did with the story and how far it went to do these things that no other film has ever done is just so inspiring to me. This other dimensional stuff is just so fascinating. And I don't want to be any kind of what is the person that would be in this field and be interested in that science stuff.
Astrophysicist.
Yeah, I have
aerospace
no
engineers,
interest in being that
astronauts.
stuff. This is
I
why
do.
I like movies, though, is because I know so much about whatever that is now. I sound so
Yeah.
retarded. But I've researched so much about all the things that were in Interstellar, and I've learned so much, not because I want to be an astrophysicist or whatever it is, because that film inspired me as a filmmaker, and it made me interested in all these things. I keep saying that watching a movie is one of the best experiences we can have, not just because they're vicarious, but the fact that their stories, they're actually can be well told and they can be interesting. The stuff that's in them can be interesting to you and you won't even know it. Like I just said, I wasn't researching all that scientific stuff because I want to be an astrophysicist. I was researching it for a movie because I wanted to understand the movie, and in the end I've learned so much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best things a movie can do.
No, this movie's not perfect. You could say it has plot
Uh-uh.
problems. Yeah, obviously, Nolan's strong suit has never been dialogue. I feel like...
He needs to get a different screen.
I mean, I feel like all the best stuff from the Dark Knight trilogy has been like little one-liners and monologues that are poster-worthy. And I like all those, but obviously no one's going to give it a screenplay award. And some people don't like the directions they took with the plot. But you can't argue that more so than any movie that's come out in a long time, maybe since the Avengers, this movie's going to stick around and it's going to be remembered. I've talked about this movie more than any other movie in a long time, just because this topic is so interesting. Even if people aren't interested in space, it's just like one of those mind-bending things that you have to talk about. And I don't know, I just found this so interesting. I love it.
I feel like this is going to be like a new Shawshank Redemption. When it comes out, people weren't that interested. They didn't think it was that good. And look now, Shawshank Redemption is now #1 on IMDb's top 250 movies of all time. And people didn't like it that much back then. I feel like Interstellar is going to be kind of the same, where time is going to pass, the people who didn't like it aren't going to talk about it, they're going to look back on it, and they're going to realize how much it did, and they're going to sort of appreciate it more. I'm not going to say they'll like it as much of us, but they're going to appreciate it more, they'll like it more, and I think they'll understand it more. I can't really explain the evolution of that or why that would be, but I can't explain it for Shawshank Redemption either. People just look back on it and they're like, wow, that was actually really good.
So, they've already said all the facts about the movie. I just wanted to say how I personally liked it.
There was a scene where it felt like he was in space.
Hey. Okay, so they all were like super hyped for it, and I just couldn't, like at first by the choice, I just couldn't see it, like what was going to be so great about it. And Ben hates me for saying that, or he doesn't hate me for saying
The
that.
trailers
He
are some of
doesn't.
the best I've ever seen.
He doesn't understand why I didn't want to see it, or I wasn't interested that much at first. But I said, yeah, I'm going to give it a shot. And when I did, I was I was immersed in the movie. Like the visuals and the cinematography and all the space aspects and all those theories and like the black hole and stuff. It was all so good, and it was just done well I thought it was just done well, really good in the movie. It made me feel like I was in space. I actually, when they first like broke through the atmosphere, I almost, and like how there was just no sound, I kind of like lifted my arms up because I kind of felt like I was
No, 'cause
in
I was
space.
next to you, and I just saw out of the corner of my eye this rising thing. Like, what is this kid doing?
But it just felt so good, and well, that sounds weird, but the movie just made me feel like I wanted to see the rest of the movie, even if some of the moments weren't, or all the moments, in my opinion, were strong, but that not all of them were the strongest. And obviously, this isn't an action movie, so there's not going to be a lot of action. I mean, the stuff they did put in was well done, and so that just goes to prove if you think something isn't that good, it can be really good. And me and Ben did have a conversation over Gone Girl. I just think the movie sounds weird. I don't.
It's
And generic.
Okay.
I know.
Talk
I
about
haven't
yourself.
seen it. I just think the name of it sounds generic.
It was a book. David Fincher couldn't pick the title.
Okay. I'm just saying the name sounded generic.
It's a good movie.
So just see the movie. It's just so good.
Yeah, you talked about it being immersive. I got so scared when I saw that it was 3 hours long, nearly 3 hours long. But in the several times that I've watched it, there were some experiences where I watched it where it was not very good quality, the circumstances where I was watching it. And I just wanted to watch the first scene. I didn't think I would get into it, but it did immerse me into the movie. Even in the quality that was in, I sat through the 3-hour movie and it didn't feel like 3 hours. It didn't feel forced. I just sat through the first scene and I was like, I'm in it, I'm done. I'm watching it through to the end because this is a great movie.
Another thing you can't argue with, even if you don't like the plot or the thematic ideas that are running through it, you can't argue the importance it has on filmmaking in general. Obviously, there's the technical things that it's done, better space things than
Takes us back to
it's
the
the
old
best
days.
space than any other movie. I mean, obviously, all those practical, no green screens in the whole thing. There's so many sets that were actually built. Obviously, all the math that went into stuff like the wormhole and the black hole, and then also just the things the movie says about the filmmaking industry and how some people have lost the pioneering feeling or the pioneering spirit, I guess, to make more, even if take a risk, I guess. And of course, it's Nolan. It's not an actual risk for him. He's going to make money. But for other people to take risks, not just make another superhero thing. Oh my gosh, it's like Birdman.
Yes.
And also, remember when we were watching the Lego movie and like there's lots of parallels? Anyway, so yeah, I just felt like it said so many good things about not space exploration, one, that like the government, they've lost their pioneering spirit, nobody wants to explore anymore, and then filmmaking too, that people need to make more original and inspiring films, and just I'm so interested in space now. I'm like, until Interstellar, I never really knew what I want to do, but now I've like really set on aerospace engineering.
Somebody who watch this in the future is going to grow up and they're going to go find the next Earth for us. It's so inspiring. This is what movie making is all about. I can't stop doing these hand motions, but I have to because it makes me really passionate. And if you're one of those people that doesn't like this movie because they explained what a black hole was right before they went into the black hole, when would they explain it to him? He was all concentrating on how he was supposed to fly the thing to get into space and do that stuff because he had like a day or two to decide. And obviously, explaining a black hole isn't a big, or not a black hole, wormhole. Explaining a wormhole obviously isn't a big problem because it took 3 seconds. And if you're one of those people that complains about how it wasn't imaginative, and how the snow wasn't purple. What? Someone actually did. Okay. Okay. Someone was actually like, okay, they were like, these are your new imaginative worlds in a sci-fi movie where you can do anything. At least make the snow purple.
Dude, some people complain that it's
He sounds
too
like a goat,
science
by the way.
fiction.
This isn't that one
Planet
planet from Star Wars. What is? I think it starts with an F.
Which one are you talking about?
You know what I'm talking about, and you know what I'm talking about too. Where like the one aliens are from with like the tentacle hair, sort of.
How do I not know this? What tentacles?
Not
We can
two
have-
tentacles.
2 tentacles.
Like hair.
Twi'leks.
Yeah, Twi'leks. I think they're from that. Maybe let me look it up.
Okay, let's drag this out while he's looking. Alright, no, let's not drag this up. Let's have this conversation later. So, Interstellar, obviously, best movie 2014, most memorable. I would have liked to see it get nominated for Best Picture, but
Yes.
obviously that wouldn't have happened.
And best director.
Definitely Best Director. Best Cinematography also. I think that... Yeah,
I would
cinematography
not
from
mind
her.
seeing him, Christopher Nolan, work with Van Hoyten again. That would be cool. I don't know what Christopher Nolan's going to do next.
I need to see him work with a different screenwriter, though. Someone...
Oh, yeah.
I want to see him do a romantic comedy.
I feel like his next move is going to be...
Felucia. It's Felucia.
Alright.
Like you don't have to make
That's it.
You don't have to make a
Moving on.
Felucia in a sci-fi movie
Because
you
it's
can
realistic.
you can make a Greenland, okay? You can make an ocean planet. Like obviously humans wouldn't try to live on a Felucia-like planet because there are like, man-eating plants or something, Venus flytraps and acid and toxic fumes everywhere. So you're not going to make snow purple.
This is
That's
dragging on.
Okay.
This
That's
is
just
dragging
stupid.
on. Interstellar, best movie of the year.
Best movie. It's intense. It's imaginative. Well, some
It's
people.
Buy
It's
on Blu-ray
beautiful.
March 31st.
It's
Immersive.
and it's inspiring.
And fantastic. And on that note,
So many eyes.
Interstellar,
Is
Inception,
our favorite.
Insomnia. I have nothing else to say. Aim for average. How long was that?